Hi everyone, Kirby fan here, just with a quick little message before we start the video today. I'm making this video for Kirby Month 3, a month where I do my best to do daily uploads of videos specifically about Kirby. And this year's Kirby Month is about taking a more analytical approach than I typically do, and making the videos more specific. In doing this, to prove my points about Kirby, I do talk about Fire Emblem a lot. Because this is Kirby Month, I do have timestamps set, so if you would rather skip the Fire Emblem stuff, I understand. I had pointed this out at the start, but some people I do notice are confused about why Fire Emblem is here, so there you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll be sure to make the joke about that in the video. Let's get started. If you're subscribed to my channel already, you would have to be absolutely insane to think I wouldn't be talking about this topic at some point. And if you aren't subscribed, well, you can smack that like button, leave a comment, and ring the notification bell after subscribing to be notified whenever I upload. It'll help me reach my year-end goal of 2,500 subscribers and give you speedrunning content for free! And free time is save time. Or something. Maybe not. I don't really talk about this topic nearly as much for Fire Emblem, but for Kirby, it's really the majority of what I talk about on the channel. I've loved the idea of speedrunning for a long time, but that's not what this video is about. It's what goes into speedrunning Fire Emblem, but more so Kirby, and how they're both similar and different, and how people like to shake things up. Just running to the end is far from the only way to speedrun, after all. Speedrunning itself has become much more popular in recent years, especially for more action-oriented games. Kirby falls directly into that category, and there are a fair amount of games that catch a lot of traction through speedrunning. Nightmare in Dreamland, Amazing Mirror, Crystal Shards, Superstar, as well as Superstar Ultra, Dreamland 1, even Star Allies. I can actually say with relative certainty that speedrunners like Star Allies more than most casual Kirby fans. Some sub-modes, like the arenas in Return to Dreamland, Round Clear in Superstar Stacker, and Meta Nightmare Returns in Planet Robobot, are more popular than the regular modes. Then you have cases like Dreamland 1, where, oh my god, where did all these runners come from? This is part of the main appeal of running Kirby. There are so many different ways to run these games that are naturally built in. I mentioned Star Allies before, and that game not only has 2 different modes that use IGT, in-game time, but both modes have separate timers for every individual ability, and one of these, the Ultimate Choice, has 8 different difficulty levels, and Star Allies itself still has modes that go by RTA, or Real Time Attack? That's what RTA's always stood for? Okay, for modes that use real world time, we'll go with that. There's any percent, 100%, heroes in another dimension. There's more than just that too. Some games like Kirby's Adventure have various glitches that may or may not be allowed depending on the category. There's no major glitches, any percent UFO, no abilities, but there are still cool glitchless categories to run, such as boss endurance, and even a category specifically for the 3D Classics version of the game. You have plenty of options to choose for with most of these games. On the other hand, Fire Emblem speedrunning might sound very restrictive at first glance. While Kirby games typically have their fair share of game breakers, you need the skill and the practice in order to pull everything off. Wouldn't Fire Emblem then be nothing but doing the same thing over and over, with the only real precision being going through menus fast? Wrong! Although fast inputs are very important, so here's a bonus. Fire Emblem speedruns are actually rather inconsistent, and runners have to make choices on the fly depending on what happens. While it's true that there are optimal decisions that runners should always make, things such as level ups not being set in stone, critical hits, or shoddy hit rates, and the simple fact that it's very easy to make mistakes in what are typically very long games, all add up to players that run games very differently. What runners have to do is calculate benchmarks in advance and take every step necessary to ensure these benchmarks are met. In the Game Boy Advance titles, runners have gone as far as to manipulate the RNG to guarantee perfect level-ups for important units, leaving 0 room for error. Other games, such as the Teleus Duology, have the bonus EXP, giving units earlier access to high levels. In Path of Radiance specifically, Fix Mode is used to get fixed level ups. I'm sorry, that's not very exciting, but you gotta live in reality sometimes, right? For Awakening, most of the game is played solo with Robin paired up with Chrom. The Chrobin solo, as fans oh so lovingly call it. In Three Houses, your House Lord is often left completely unused until the second half of the game in order to ensure better level ups. You think Dimitri's level ups are terrifying? You want Claude to make Chapter 13 even easier? Want Edelgard to... well, I guess that doesn't really matter. She has Raging Storm for speedrunning anyway. Even among some of these cases, though, there are still factors that may not go your way, and you have to adapt around during a run. What are your benchmarks, and what will you do if a certain benchmark isn't met? It's super interesting stuff, and I love the planning process. And that said, what do they really have in common? To me, the first thing that jumps out is the concept of movement. Obviously, moving quickly is necessary for anything that revolves around you playing quickly. What separates these two is that, compared to most games of their kind, you have more than dozens of options to pick from, but the ones that move you from point A to point B most efficiently are the best picks. Funny little coincidence, but in both Kirby and Fire Emblem, flyers are typically your best bet. Pegasus Knights and Wyvern Riders for Fire Emblem, Wing or Jet for Kirby. I mean, there are exceptions. There's Cavalry and Genealogy of the Holy War, and Wheel in a game like Squeak Squad, but these are standards for a reason. I mean, imagine if there were Jets in Fire Emblem, or how about Wyverns in Kirby? Oh, most of the videos that I'm uploading around this time are really comparing the two, but unlike the rest of them, I can't really say that these two have a lot of things in common, specifically talking speedrunning. But that being said, as a runner myself, I actually think it's very important to run different kinds of games to make sure you never lose that initial spark that you got when you started running. I love Kirby and always will, but seeing as how there are other things that I love too, let me run those so that Kirby never gets the chance to grow stale. Catch my drift? As for which of the two I'd rather run myself, come on, obviously, it's Kirby. The games are simply far more approachable and easy to run, and Kirby is very clearly my favorite thing. But giving credit where it is due, Fire Emblem runners, and also, not runners alike, have recently been on a craze, that craze being draft racing. Basically, a group of people take turns picking units in a snake order, and then race whatever game, or games in some case, they're playing using only those units. Having raced in a bunch of these myself, they're highly addicting, and with the right crowd, they're an absolute blast. For me, some people in that right crowd have actually become very close friends, to the point where I've started having them do Kirby races just to get both sides of this Kirby Fire Emblem fanatics favorites. I also kind of think a copyability draft of sorts could work. There would need to be some restrictions, but that's left untested for now. I've had some imaginative sparks, but they need more testing before I try and drag other people into it. If you want a more community-driven Kirby event, then there's still plenty to watch. Kirby Relay Races, the Speedrunning Discord Classic Games Race, a channel entirely devoted to racing, the list goes on. Having participated in the Classic Games Race from earlier in the year, I can confirm that these are just as fun. Even if I really need to learn Dreamland 2 before doing that again, that hurt. That said, discovering that the using the restroom strat was simply waiting out Hix's long intro for Kirby 64, that was life-changing. Purely talking speedrunning, where would I recommend somebody start? For Kirby, if you don't know the answer yet and you watch my videos on the regular, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, it's Superstar Ultra. I won't stop saying it until it is permanently imprinted in your brain. But if you're newer to the channel, it's Superstar Ultra. I have a not finished video series going over beginner's tips for learning it, so if you want to learn, watching those videos is a good start. As for Fire Emblem, the easiest game to get into at the time of recording is probably Three Houses, since most people own it and love it, and the specific routes themselves aren't super strenuous once you know what you're doing, but if you prefer the older games, I think one of the GBA titles is a good place to start, if only because you can manipulate level ups to be whatever you want. I talk about RNG manipulation in my Erica solo video, which you can watch by clicking the thing. Long and short, I like speedrunning, I like running these games, I like racing these games, I like playing these games, blah, blah, blah. I'm bad enough at ending videos as it is, so if you want the Spark Notes version, why is making bad jokes about Spark so easy? There it is. Oh, and any Kirby runners from the classic games race, I'm still up for that mass attack any % money match. Come at me.